Hello, everyone. This is Jeffery Giesener for the Jewish Culture and Holocaust Remembrance Group. We are talking with Blima Lorber, and she's doing an Obligations of Memory podcast interview with us. And Blima has really given us some terrific history about her parents. Both of them were in Helm, and both of them had amazing stories of how they survived the Holocaust. You have given us 2 episodes, which I would want everyone to go and listen to. And you're about to present how your parents met each other and how they came to Brazil, which let's go and let's tell great stories and more research from Blima. So go ahead, Blima.
Oh, thank you, Jeffrey. I was telling about my father in the survival committee in Helm, right? One day there was an episode that really marked him. A military man entered the committee shouting for the people to give back the child and threatened everyone. They knew there was a violent pogrom chaos, and they were very afraid that the same thing would happen, because this was an excuse to incite against Jews. So they decided to complain to the army commander, and the man was recognized and put in jail. While my father was in the committee, my mother's brother, Lorba and Jacob, arrived in Helm, looking for survivors. My father learned that my mom survived and was living in Chechen, and the Milachtai brothers had invited him, and he decided to see the girl again. There was another episode before reaching Chechen in the train that he took with a friend that stopped at Helm, Lublin. Suddenly, a guy with a strange uniform came up to him and asked for documents. My father put his hand on his pocket and took out a piece of an Yiddish newspaper that he kept with him with the address of relatives. The man noticed the paper and intimidated him. When the train stopped at the station, he ordered them to leave, pointing a gun, and took them to the right, which was a place, let's call it a thicket. It was his friend who saved them, because he knew that on the left side of the lobby there was a police station. So they decided, they talked in Yiddish, to fake a fight between them, so they both could run away to the station lobby, to the police station. The strangers chased them and fired a shot that almost hurt my father's face. The police was notified, searched the whole place, but the man disappeared. Both continued the trip, but very carefully, because the stranger could still be on the train. When my father arrived at Chechen, my mother's brothers took him to meet her. She was so beautiful. She kept her delicate features. So my father decided it was time for him to have family of his own, and they got engaged. As I already told, Jacob decided to leave Poland because of the political events at the time, and thought it was better for the family to go to Germany and stay there at the American zone. So after the engagement, they left. David didn't go with them. My father stayed a couple of months in Chechen, decided to flee as well. He became aware of the danger of being denounced. His escape were organized by a group and set out for the other river. But in a little while, the boat stopped. The group discovered that the boat had been abandoned and was still in Russian waters. Then the Soviet patrol came aboard, and my father was afraid to be sent again to Siberia. Right? But he had an idea. He knew that the Russians could be bought with watches. So he convinced several persons to give the Russians their watches, and with this, they saved their lives. Right? It worked, and the group was led to the border and went to Spandau, where also covered trucks were waiting for them to cross the Soviet zone to the American zone in Berlin. My father arrived in a displaced persons camp, Berlin-Tempelhof, the same camp where my mother was. He started to work as a police officer and met my mom again. He also found some of his relatives alive. His brother, who was married and had a son. My father was not alone anymore and decided to get married. He didn't want fate to separate him from Malka, my mom, again. The ceremony took place on December 1946 in a camp. A simple ceremony, but according to the religion, Malka did not have a wedding dress, but she was beautiful and happy. After all, she survived the war, overcame countless afflictions, and now they began a new life. In 1948, he was still working as a policeman when the Russian blockade took place. It lasted almost a year. The DPs were transferred to other camps in the American zone. The couple was taken to Deggendorf and then to Lechfeld until traveling to Bolivia, where they lived for 14 months, afraid of political problems and revolutions. So they decided it was better to leave and to travel to Brazil. At that time, a neighborhood in São Paulo called Bom Retiro was where the Jewish immigrant families settled. With the help of the local community, my father went ahead. In Brazil, my parents found safety, freedom, and better living conditions. However, the land was strange, unknown to them, and the language unfamiliar. But they were sure that this country was their home and that they would raise their children in Brazil. My beloved father passed away on June 17, 2008. My mother passed away in 5th November 1987. I have wonderful memories of both of them. They led us, their children, on the path of faith with love. We are in 3 siblings. I have 2 brothers, right? They both working now. My father had a very special affection for his hometown. He felt at home when he traveled there. He always wanted to go back and see how was his hometown. My mother wouldn't travel to the place again. This place was something in his heart, even though no longer he had traces of the past except the 2-story house where he was born and the synagogue. Those were places which were always linked to him by family and by religion. And for that very reason, those places remain standing, marking a transcendental relationship between them for life, his house and the synagogue.
So let me ask you, coming back as a second generation, how was it like growing up in your parents' house in Brazil? And how would you say it was the same for your siblings? or each had a different experience?
Well, my father would speak a lot. He even gave conferences and things like that. My mother wouldn't speak. She had war trauma, but she would write. That was her way of putting things in. We knew from very young that our parents were Holocaust survivors, that we didn't have any family close. So what we really missed also was not having grandparents, right? But by miracle, my father's father survived.
Oh,
He left home in the beginning. He reached Vilnius, and from Vilnius he wanted to go to the States and take the family out, but this didn't happen. He probably got a visa for China, probably for Sujihaka. I really don't know. And after many, many years, a person was in Israel and saw him sitting in a garden. Their faces were quite alike, right? And asked them, "Aren't you Shia Lorber? You have two sons alive, one living
wow.
in the States and the other one in Brazil." And that was a miracle because my father couldn't even believe it. But they never met again because a few years, couple of years, he passed away, right? But from my mother's side, those who went to Russia and Germany were alive, but each one lived in a different country: United States, Brazil, Argentina, and Germany.
Okay.
So we knew from the very beginning, from our childhood, that what happened. My mother used to write. This is her book of memories. I don't know if you can see it.
I can't because of the background, unfortunately.
Mm.
And now I can. Yep.
It's
Perfect.
Abyss. She wrote this in Yiddish and couldn't find a publishing house because Yiddish wasn't very popular.
Mhm.
Abyss is a book about her memories, but it's written in the form of short stories, right? So she translated this book into Portuguese by herself. She has asked me to buy on the Mother's Day the best dictionary Portuguese that I would find to give her as a present, and asked one of my brothers to do some drawings for the book, but she didn't tell us about the book. When she suddenly passed away, we found all the manuscripts in Portuguese. We found all the manuscripts in Yiddish, and we decided to publish it posthumously as an honor for her. And I can tell you, even though she didn't study it in Brazil, she had such a good Portuguese that they didn't need many corrections.
Nice.
It was amazing. She also wrote many poetry.
Mhm. Yep.
Oh,
There you go. I can see it now. Yep.
it's called Young World. It's poetry for youngsters. It also has some connections with the Holocaust, right? This was also written in Yiddish and it was translated. She left around 600 or 700 pages of Yiddish writings everywhere. She would write a lot. It's upside down now. You cannot see it,
I can see it a little bit. Yep.
right? And she would write to several newspapers and magazines around the world, Brazilian ones. Here you have a Blätter from South Africa. South Africa has had a very big Jewish helm community, and they had a special Blätter occasions, and every Blätter my mother was there. She also wrote in the Helm Isker book the Yiddish version. This is much for 1954. So I have many writings from my mother. She wouldn't speak.
So how do you deal with those memories? So do you often go away and just at quiet time read about your mother's stories? So how do you take the volume of writing that you have, which is beautiful and lovely, and it's a connection always to your mother? So how do you use that for yourself,
Well,
and how do your brothers use it?
It's a way of learning how to cope with life for us, all the brothers, right? I just love her poems. Very nice, because she even wrote poems for each of her child, right? I have one called Blima,
That's
right?
nice.
And I think my mother was the sweetest person in the world. I miss her very much. Even though she was so fragile, she was the main strength of the family. When she passed away, my father couldn't cope. It was very hard for him. So I was with my father, with 21 years living with me after my mother passed away. Right? And he decided to go back to Poland, and we went there over 20 times.
Wow. And
I did a lot of research.
And how was that experience? Now, obviously, you talked about your father's experience, but as a second gen and going to Poland, can you help us understand what it was like for you?
At the beginning, I was afraid that something very emotional could happen to him. Right?
Okay.
But then
what about yourself?
I was afraid for him. Because he was my hero. He is my hero, as my mother is. So everything emotional could happen to him. He already had heart attack and something like that. So I was very worried. But then when we got there, I just let him talk. We walked all through the streets. I didn't need to ask anything. He would speak all the time because he had an incredible memory. He remembered everything, who lived there, what was this house from, who belonged to this club. He had everything in his mind. So I let him talk. It was like seeing their lives in a movie, in a film. And I was putting together pieces of a huge puzzle. That's why I selected a huge puzzle on my father's book, right?
Yep.
And for him, it was like the town was still inside him.
So why do you think he needed to go 20 times?
Well, he had some thing inside him that he always wanted. When he went to Europe, he always wanted to go to his hometown. And we made friends there, right? Some people that had quite a foundation that keeps the memory of the Jews from him alive. And he was very interested in it, right? He also tried to get some of the family properties back. So we had to go several times also for this. And I decided to start searching all those archives and newspapers in Helm, and I needed his help to read Polish because I can understand it. I can read a little bit, but I'm not fluent. So every time we went to Europe, we went there. We went to Warsaw. We went to several places to put all those archives together to try to find something, the thread of the family.
Now, what did your father do in Brazil? What was his
He was a
career?
businessman. He started as how you say, clapper, right? He would sell things when he got to Brazil. He didn't speak the language, right? He took some merchandise and would go
Okay,
to
I know.
places and
Yeah,
sell it
yeah.
till he got a place of his own and started a store. My
Okay.
mother would help him in the store,
Mhm.
and he sent all the three children to the university. That was
Very,
his dream.
very nice. My mother's sister, who was an Auschwitz survivor with my mom, she also was in Argentina, and she owned a store, and her son, her younger son, worked with her in a store. So it was similar background and similar interest. So
It's
now, how are you
because
get?
they didn't have any other option,
Maybe so. Maybe
right?
so. Yeah.
Even though if they had university degrees, they couldn't work here with
Okay. So,
university
so
degrees.
tell me, you have a degree in journalism, right? And you're
Yes.
you're you're a journalist. What is your other two brothers doing?
My other brother is also, my older brother is also a journalist, right? Because we're used to read a lot. Our
Mhm.
parents always put us reading. I have a library here at my home with plenty of Yiddish books too, which I'm trying to read sometimes. I took an Yiddish course because in Brazil they wouldn't teach Yiddish when I was younger.
Mhm.
And my other brother is a doctor,
A medical doctor.
medical doctor.
Very nice. What a family. So you have, I want to kind of segue into, you're a journalist, but you're also spending time getting you have a master's, and your master's is in what?
My master's is in Jewish studies, but
Okay.
especially concerning the Holocaust. While I was searching to write my father's book, I came into a name from a person that was born in Brazil in one of the archives. And that thrilled me a little, and I decided to go on. And I decided to make my study, to take a study, and my master's in Brazilians and the Holocaust and Nazi fascism resistance.
Now, it's very interesting, but you're also now going for your PhD, and is it in the same topic?
Not yet, because I just finished, right, my master's. I need some time for it.
Okay.
I need to publish my work because it's worth very much. There are books about Portuguese and the Holocaust, Spaniards, Spanish people on the Holocaust. Nowadays, I belong to a group that is from South America, Latin America. So there is book about Peruvians in the Holocaust, and there is a study going on also about Argentinians in the Holocaust. So we are now taking this time to look into and to promote those topics which are completely unknown in the
Mhm.
Holocaust history,
Right.
and they need to be known.
So what is your role in that? Since, are you the leader?
Uh, the other two, one is a professor and works in the Buenos Aires Holocaust Museum. She's a professor. And the other one is also a journalist. So journalists get digging into things, right?
Right, exactly.
And it's very interesting because in Brazil, nobody knows about the story, life stories of those Brazilians.
So help our listeners and the people who are going to be watching this. If you could tell a couple short stories about the research that you've learned, let's move away from your parents a little bit and broaden out to.
I prepared some slides. I don't know if I can show it.
Sure, go ahead.
Uh,
I have to give you permission, so hold on a
yeah.
second. Go ahead, you can share your screen now.
Just a minute.
Please describe the slides also so our listeners can hear it as well.
Choose share screen, right?
Yeah, yep. And then on the bottom right is say share. There you go. Now you see it. Okay, perfect. Then you can run your go over and run your slide deck. You see where it says de Comigo all the way over to the left underneath our Quiva. The
In
first,
just a minute.
no, the other way. Go the other. Oh, there you go. There you go. Got it.
So here we have some pictures of the people I found. I found documents, right? I found their names. You see, you have people from all ages, native ones, naturalized ones, documents, right, from all those people. So Brazilians in the Holocaust and resisting Nazi fascism, because there were many, over 100 Brazilians who fought in partisans group, partigiani, Italians, are allied armies, right?
Okay, before you get to the next slide, I want to let everyone know that you're listening to the Obligations of Memory Podcast Network. We're speaking to Blima Lorba, who's a journalist and a Holocaust historian who's from southern Brazil. She's going to be coming back with a very interesting presentation on our next episode, so hang in with us and we'll be right back.